Yeah, I think one of the big success stories that we've seen on the news recently, which I think people really do need to credit it. It's not the only success story, but I think the work of Mavin Records is something to be recognized, right? And the work of Kupanda Capital and investing that time, energy, capital, relationships, governance into them. First, you have to recognize that Mavin Records in itself set itself up really well, right? It invested locally, it invested in the artists, it invested in the pipeline, it invested there. And someone finally paid attention and saw the big vision or where it could go, right? And once Kupanda Capital came in, it was such a nice match because I had a chance to talk to some of the co-founders of Kupanda, and they really told me about how much they invested into that and how they were patient and how they invested in the long term, right? So they thought about the end in sight, right? About them potentially being bought out by a global entity or growing globally and becoming beyond just the Nigerian music scene into a global music scene. And fast forward, this is what we have. Universal Music bought a majority stake into Mavin Records, which is exciting, right? It's a great example of what it looks like for someone to build from home, right? For them to really build out Mavin Records locally and then get attention from an international funder like Kupanda Capital. And they didn't just invest capital, right? Let's remember that. They invested time, they invested energy, they invested in building the governance, they invested in building the system, the teams. And I know this because I had a conversation with one of the co-founders who told me this, and it's such a beautiful story of an organization that came in from a funding lens and said, we see your vision, we know it could get big, we know you could be a global player, and we're willing to come in patiently and work with you and your team to build this out. And together they did that. Now, one of the biggest music houses in the world, Universal Music, came in as a majority stakeholder. So that's a great example of what's possible across other verticals and other industries.